Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And guys, if you have not already done so, please make sure you check out my second channel called Dusty Finance. Two really cool videos are coming on there tomorrow, and I really want you guys to check it out. Link is in the description below. And also, the question of today is going to be, what is your number one favorite coin in crypto? Is it XRP? Is it Cardano? Is it Bitcoin? Let us know in the comment section down below, and let's see who the winner is in the comment section. I want to see all of you guys comment down below. Everybody, even if you don't hold crypto, just comment the coin which you like the most. And also, if you are enjoying the daily crypto news, please support the channel by pressing the like button and subscribing. Now, the first article of the day comes from Charles Hoskinson. Recursive snarks could help Bitcoin scale. And my God, guys, was I amazed again to hear about snarks. I remember a couple of years ago, we were talking about Z snarks all the time, and I've not talked about it on the channel for, I think it's already 2 years, which is kind of crazy to me. Charles Hoskinson believes that this complex cryptographic technique would have helped avoid the Bitcoin civil war that led to the formation of Bitcoin Cash. In Cointelegraph interview, Charles said that, in his opinion, recursive snarks could be a solution for Bitcoin's scalability problems. So yeah, that's actually a really heavy statement to come out. But all right. Hoskinson believes that there was a lot of intellectual dishonesty in the block size debate, which eventually led to the creation of Bitcoin Cash. Discussing the main argument of the Bitcoin core supporters that the increase in block size would have led to a greater centralization of the network, Hoskinson said, "Just an insane argument, and this is the intellectual dishonesty of that argument. So that's like saying network capacity, CPUs, and hard disks are never going to increase in size. I mean, what is it? You created Bitcoin in 2009. What was the average bandwidth of a network connection? What was the average amount of disk storage and the CPU power a person has? My cell phone today is as powerful as the most powerful gaming PC you could buy in 2009. Roger Ver is not a bad actor. He's also of the opinion that Roger Ver should have been accommodated and that the split that followed is an example of bad governance. So that's, again, a pretty heavy thing to say, but he's out there. And Charles, I mean, he knows his stuff, right? So that's why I'm like, let's get into it a little bit because it's some cool stuff to hear. Governance fails when your country splits apart and you have the civil war or when your project splits. So the fact that Bitcoin Cash exists is an example of failure of governance. Roger is not a bad actor. He's a principled actor as he believes firmly in his viewpoints. He should have been accommodated to the extent where he didn't feel the need to actually create his own crypto. So basically here stating that he's not really a bad actor. He's not like a bad guy for splitting Bitcoin in half, right? Or splitting it in two different routes. He's kind of I guess just a normal guy here, not being happy with the way things are going and then going his own way, right? He wants the best for everybody, and so do the other guys, and they just don't comply with each other. They're not compliant in this case. It's a failure of governance because, I mean, you can't govern it correctly, so, I mean, they're splitting up, right? That's like, you know, you're ruling a country, and there's two of the leaders who are like, you know what, I'm not with this. Like the Confederates and the other party who are like, you know what, nah, we ain't about this, and just so they split everything apart. You know, that's kind of what happened here. They go their own ways. Hoskinson believes that recursive snarks is one of the possible solutions that could help Bitcoin scale. For example, you could use recursive snarks and have a light client experience, but still have full node security. You can have a backbone that has large blocks and it's huge and it's mostly enterprise grade, and that's where power users and then the everyday users uses the light client. But they still have the full node security and they still have the inclusive accountability. So that's, again, some of the knowledge coming in from Charles Hoskinson. And I find it so funny because this stuff is not what you normally hear from most people in the crypto space, right? Most guys don't even know about this type of stuff. And here we can see, again, a ZK snark. I always call it Z snark, ZK snark, whatever. Or zero knowledge succinct non-interactive argument of knowledge is a technology that allows a party to demonstrate that it possesses certain information without actually revealing it. In addition to presenting better privacy, Another advantage of this technology is that the proof of possession takes much less space than the actual information itself. So basically you're saying, all right, we have it without actually having to show that you have it. You're like, there is proof you've got it, but you don't have to show it. You know, you guys get it? You only have to kind of show the proof you have it actually, but you don't have to show that you have it yourself. With recursive snarks, a party can represent a proof of a proof, which compresses the data even further. If Bitcoin were to employ this methodology, it would gain almost an infinite transactional capacity. You guys get that, right? Because you only have to prove that you have it or that you are able to do something. You don't actually have to do it, sort of. I mean, you have to, but you only have to prove that you can prove it. However, there's a price to pay for the scalability. If parameters are not properly configured, the security of the network could be compromised. Zcash, a privacy-centered crypto, is built on this tech, which is why it's, I guess, infinitely scalable in that sense. Had CK snarks been used in Lewis Carroll's The Hunting of the Snark, a snark would have never turned out to be a fearsome boojum instead. Don't know what that's too much about. Earlier today, Hoskins lashed out against bait and switch journalism, yada, yada, yada. He voices frustrations with journalists who focus solely on price speculation instead of sharing meaningful commentary on blockchain-based technologies. Yeah. You know, it's always difficult to say exactly what is good and what is wrong, because on the channel here, I don't like to talk about prices whatsoever. However, it's an important part about what people want to know about. You know, completely honest. A lot of people like to know about the price solely, which is something I understand as well, because, I mean, a lot of people are here just for the money, not for the tech. But luckily and hopefully, you guys also enjoy talking about these coins a little bit and like to know what's going on. You know, like to know and get yourself updated with this new world that we're living in. And we're a good part of the first earliest 1%. Looming XRP upgrade to implement unusual feature despite apparent opposition from Ripple. Validators on the XRP Ledger have voted to adopt a new amendment without support from Ripple. The checks amendment has now crossed the necessary 80% threshold, and if it stays above the threshold for the next upcoming 2 weeks, it will be activated on the XRP Ledger. Ripple holds 6 out of the 7 outstanding nays. So there was a veto earlier from Alloy Networks. They've removed that a couple of days ago, and the following day, Ripple in.nz removed the final veto necessary for adoption, and thus, well, yeah, if nobody removes a yay vote, which is a yes vote, it's going to be hopping on here, which is definitely interesting. And by the way, it will not be, most likely will never be taken away unless another amendment comes in where 80% votes and they try to take it away. But the chance of that happening ever in the future is ridiculously small, and thus it will come on. The upgrade will allow senders to sign transactions and create virtual checks for specific amounts and destinations. The XP will not move until receivers decide to cash them. If the checks fail due to potential sender issues like insufficient balance or liquidity, they will remain in the ledger so they can't be cashed later. Grayscale reveals why it's buying up so much Bitcoin. Grayscale Investments is seeing surging interest from hedge funds and other institutional investors for its crypto trusts, and here's why. Grayscale's total assets under management has risen to $3.8 billion this year, a nearly 50% increase over the year. Most of this buying comes from institutional investors seeking exposure through 401k and pension plans. A fair number of traditional hedge funds are jumping on board too, as the institutions are warming to Bitcoin as a potential hedge for rampant monetary stimulus. In summary of this summary, a lot of institutional investors right now are looking at Bitcoin because there's such a big crisis going on right now with all the riots, with all the uncertainty of the dollar because of the monetary policy of the government in the US and even in Europe here with the ECB, and I guess in America the Fed, with all the printing of money, which is monetary policy. People are looking at a hedge, like for example gold or Bitcoin or something, to make sure that if prices were to do something crazy, and the dollar becomes valueless, for example, or huge inflation, we have something to work with. Why 8.1K will be the key level for Bitcoin price in the next 6 months. Again, another little piece of speculation. We don't know. This guy, I mean, you're again saying here 6 months. I mean, I can also predict, guys, most likely we will touch 9.3K in 5 years. Just trust me on that one. Screw that type of stuff, man. I get that 6 months is a lot better than saying, possibly like three days here, because that's a lot more uncertain, and this has a better higher likelihood or higher probability of being right. However, I don't think it does us any good. I don't think it does. IOTA rolls out Hornet v0.4.0, moves one step closer to IOTA 1.5. Massive 700 million XRP transaction makes waves as Bitcoin and Ethereum whales move under the radar. So yes, that's going on as well. It's already a couple of days ago, if I am correct. It is now the 5th of June, and that has already happened on the 3rd of June. I believe we also covered it before a little bit already. Just a lot of money is being moved right now. A lot of XRP, a lot of Bitcoin. Because here are a couple of huge Bitcoin transactions that went on by. 2,500, 1,100, 1,000, and they all came from exchanges over into unknown wallets, basically saying a lot of these guys are not willing to trade anymore, and they're holding from this point on forward. At least that's what I most of the time fetch when somebody takes it from an exchange and puts it into a wallet. Logically speaking, if you're doing that, you're not really waiting on trading it anymore, right? You're thinking of holding it. So that's a good thing. That's bullish for Bitcoin. And there's a reason why XRP still has a $9 billion market cap despite it being overvalued. And again, that is an opinion. I personally don't really agree with this at all. I don't think XRP is overvalued at all. But it's Nick Chong again. He sometimes comes up with crazy titles as well. This exchange news has brought to you by OKCoin, our preferred exchange partner. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt XRP has a dedicated fan base. The crypto community has finally branded supporters as XRP Army, and yeah, these guys will go on a little bit, but I don't really know why you would cover this. By the way, it's sponsored by OKCoin then, or what? This exchange news was brought to you, or are they talking about something else here? I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but basically, I never listen to people who say the coin is overvalued in that sense. I mean, I know it's not. I know the longer term potential in it all. So if your question is, why are we right now at $9 billion? That's because they want it to be, right? That's because they want to put it there. We know it's being manipulated. We know it's not a real market, but you have any say in it all. It's not that way, right? These guys want to get it this way. This is billionaires we're talking about here. These are billions of dollars we're talking about. So yeah, you don't really have a say in that matter. And thus, you're wondering why apples are the color they are. It's just the way it goes. There's not too much to talk about here. It's exactly the point where it needed to be, and I don't really know how you can ever fight such a question. Why is Bitcoin at this market cap right now? Well, because it is. That's demand and that's supply and demand 1.0. That's what it is. It is what it is. That's all I can say about that. Yeah, you could say, why is it not higher then, my guy? Well, maybe some developments still need to occur. Maybe people need to put in some more faith. But that's, again, the better question is, why is the price this way? Because market cap is just price times amount of coins. And thus, you're basically, again, asking why the price is still at this level, which is something that is just almost impossible to answer. A lot of things haven't happened yet, but this is just what people want to pay for these coins. And eventually it will go up most of the time, and it'll go back down a little bit. But that's, again, for a completely other day. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. I'll see you guys again in another crypto video.